20 odd years ago, I was involved with a Chin Burmese man called Mangzar Swan, and he had been a university friend of mine, and he returned to Myanmar, and I hadn't seen him for 10 years until about 20 odd years ago. And there was a knock on my door one day, and there he stood. And he told me that the Lord had given him a vision to plant a spirit-filled church in every unreached town across Myanmar, and would I join him? So I was the first Australian to join him in that mission, which he called God's Trio Partners, or GTP, for Myanmar. And every week we would meet in his home to pray for the birth of this vision and this mission. And during those prayer meetings, this was well before I ever came to Myanmar, it was like in the spirit I would be standing in that nation as we were praying. Many times I would see fire right across Myanmar, the fire of the Holy Spirit. And then I would see that fire travelling across the borders into Thailand and into Laos and Vietnam and other countries as the Myanmar believers took the message of the gospel to those lands as well. One day after a trip that he'd had to Myanmar, he told me about two sister towns, one in Myanmar called Tacha Lake and the other one in Thailand called Masai. And when he told me about them, something went off in my spirit, and I knew that God would have me one day start a training centre there for young people for church planting. And that was a vision and a feeling that never left me. So to cut a long story short, I ended up in Central Australia, where I worked amongst Aboriginal people for a period of time, and then I went across to Port Hedland. And I also worked and was involved in ministry in that town. And there was a lady there called Diane Kennedy. She asked me if I would come and do a Holy Spirit conference for Karen pastors in the Mae Sot region. So I thought, yes, I'll do that. And later I said to her, there's a condition. The Lord has put this town of Masai and Tacha Lake in my spirit, and I've never been there. On this trip, I'd like you to accompany me so I can see what that area is like. And this was then about 2010. And so I came across and I did the conference for the Karen pastors, and then we travelled up to Masai and we walked around the town, and I had another pastor come with us. And we all felt that in the spirit that this was of God. And then I returned to Australia, back to Hedland, and not long after that I ended up in Broome. And I worked in Broome at a Catholic college, as well as doing prison ministry in the town of Broome, northwestern Australia. And one day I came home to my house, and the Lord just said to me as I entered the living room, he said, time to begin Masai, be there on January the 12th. That's all he said, but I had my marching orders and I knew that it was time to put this vision into action, that he was ready for this to happen. So I resigned what I was doing, travelled back from Broome down to Melbourne, where most of my family are, and then some months later, in the January, I came across to Masai with a friend of mine from Perth. We actually arrived on January the 10th. I'd rather be a couple of days early than a couple of days late. And we arrived there, and I didn't know anybody in Masai. I had spoken in a church in Tacha Lake on my previous visit with Diane, and I tried to contact that pastor, but I emailed him, I tried to phone him many times, but no response. So now here we were, Graham and I, in Marseille on 10th of January. And I said to Graham the next morning, I said, what I feel to do, as we can't contact this pastor, is that we should pray and then walk from the hotel where we were staying, which was about 3 kilometres from the bridge, that I should pray that the Lord will bring across our path the person or the people that I was to be involved with. So I prayed that prayer, and I saw a car parked by the side of the street, and it had a sign on the back of it written in Thai and in English, and it said Jesus Believing Christian Church. So obviously it was a car owned by Christians, and there was a man sitting in the passenger seat, and I said to him, are you the pastor? He said, no, I'm not the pastor. He said, just a minute, I'll go and get the person. So about 5 minutes later he returned, and with a lady called Yok Mani, a Thai Christian, and she had been a Buddhist a couple of years beforehand, but had converted quite dramatically to Christ and just wanted to serve him. And she had converted the reception area of her guest house into a church, which she called Jesus Believing Christian Church. So when she came back, I said to her, well, the Lord's given me a vision to start a training centre here in Marseille. She said, hop on my car and I'll take you back to my compound. So we returned to a compound which was about 1 kilometre away, and as we entered it, I could see it was a nice environment, nice trees and plants, had a little church in the middle, Jesus Believing Christian Church, and it had rooms along the side. And she said to me, you can teach your students here in this church building, and she said they can sleep in these rooms along the side. So there it was, the Lord gave me the contact, right? And all I had done at that point was I had travelled in obedience to him from Broome across to Marseille, and here he had opened the door. And ever since I've been here, the Lord has used Sister Yok to help me in many areas. So initially we started at Shalom, she calls it, Shalom House, and then about 6 weeks later we moved into another building which we still occupy, a 5-storey building here in Marseille. From our first intake, 2 of the students returned to a state called Rakhine State, which is over on the border of Bangladesh. And within 3 months they had started 5 churches, and I think now there are another 2 in villages, they're village churches. So that's those 2. Another one started a church in a village north of Yangon. Another girl started a children's ministry near the Shan capital called Tonji. We've had other students now started churches along the Lao border, and altogether now there are about 12 new churches that have commenced in that period of time. At the moment we're sitting in the little village across the river, across the Mekong, in Laos, and they are very close to each other. Actually those 3 countries converge at this point here, and one of the visions that the Lord gave me was that he gave me a heart for Laos in this very market where we're sitting now. I met a young man, he was trying to sell me some Buddhist carvings, and knowing he wasn't a Christian, obviously I said to him, are you a Christian? He said no. He said, I'm not. He said, I'm a Buddhist. He said, we're all Buddhists here. I said to him, have you heard the Christian message? He said, no, we've never heard the Christian message. And at that time I didn't have enough time to speak with him, but the Lord birthed something in my heart at that very moment, and I knew that we had to do something to reach Laos as well as these other areas. And that's what we continue to work towards. Hello there. Mickey and I would like to welcome you to Kingdom Mission International, and we'd love you to see what God is doing in our part of the world. Thank you.
I'm Pastor PK, and this is my wife, Pastor Olivia.
Yes.
My role of Kingdom Mission is dean of student. I'm helping the student, and because of this Kingdom Mission, we are come here from Yangon.
The vision of Kingdom Mission is to train and helping the young people, especially who would like to do church planting and who would like to go as a missionary to unreached area.
I'd just like to add that without Olivia and PK, Kingdom Mission would certainly not be what it is today. They have both been invaluable gifts from God to this vision and to this ministry. If you're a person called of God to mission and or other Christian service, you might like to prayerfully consider coming to Kingdom Mission. We're located in the Golden Triangle region where Laos, Thailand and Myanmar converge, and there's ample opportunity on our practical courses for you to get experience ministering at village level. So prayerfully consider. We offer a one-year diploma course which is really practical with an emphasis on hearing and moving in the Holy Spirit. And also we've commenced this year our Bachelor of Theology, which will be a 4-year course for those called to deeper study of the Word. So if you're interested, please get in touch and we can send you the relevant details.